Would everybody please take a seat so we can start the meeting? As always, we've got plenty to say. Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome. So happy to see so many of you. And the room looks so beautiful. Just again, I want to thank Jean Hewitt so much, who brings these gorgeous tablecloths. I think they really make the room sparkle, and of course the beautiful flower arrangements are so welcome, and I think we'll hear more about them later. Just a couple of presidential remarks. I want to publicly thank Pam Austin and Robin Mitchell and Robin's partner Howdy, who have really worked to try to get the technology going for our meetings so that we could have a Zoom component, so that we can show slides, so that we can record our meetings again as we used to do when we were 100% on Zoom, which now, looking back, seems like it was easy compared to now. So anyway, I thank them so much. And unfortunately, Pam is sick and couldn't come to the meeting today. Robin is monitoring Zoom from home and is going to record the meeting. So thank you very much for that. Landry. Landry is going to report about various things, and I want to just say before she starts that I was so pleased to see so many people at the new members tea, and I thought that was a wonderful occasion, and I thank Landry for hosting it and all the people that brought things.
And just to continue with that theme, I want to thank everyone who attended the tea, brought refreshments, and helped to make it work. Particularly, I want to thank Paula for bringing chairs and teapots and all sorts of items that really helped make it work. And Melody, who stayed and washed up. My husband was stunned and thrilled. He had that assignment. So thank you very much. Everyone who wanted. I'm really glad to have done it, and I hope we do it every year now. And I think I should talk about the bring some, buy some, if that's okay. You'll notice there's a couple tables in the back, and this is the inaugural meeting for Bring Some, Buy Some. And I want to say all kinds of things around that table. I like the new name because White Elephant doesn't begin to describe the pleasurable choices that we have. And so the only thing is, if you brought something and it doesn't go, you have to take it home, just like the plant table. We have a black vase back there. It's a black hole. It absorbs money, and that's where you put your donation. Thank you.
Thank you, Landry. Also about the new members tea, I want to say that there were at least 9 new members there, which was wonderful. One person was not able to be there because her invitation never arrived because we had her address incorrect. So I want to apologize to Rosario Misa whose name is also incorrect in your yearbook. It says Rosa, but it's Rosario. So we will have you invited again next year, don't worry. Speaking of the yearbooks, if you hadn't gotten one before, Jean has some at the table. Be sure to pick one up. And if you see any mistakes, like your name or your address or your phone number, please let us know. And every month in the newsletter, we're going to post corrections. It's just inevitable that there will be typos and errors. And also in the newsletter, we'll post new members that have joined since the yearbook was published. So you can add them into your yearbook roster. So speaking of membership, I wonder if we could find out from Jean Hewitt how many members have signed in today. How many members are here? 40 people, and some of those are guests. Okay, so anyone who's a guest today, would you mind standing up so that we can say hi? Chris, I know you are one. Yes, thank you. Thank you so much for coming. We want to give you a warm welcome. Normally we would have the treasurer's report now, but again, Candace will, so that will be published in the minutes. We'll include it with the minutes. Louise. Just before Louise talks, I would like to thank Louise and Bernadette so much for doing such a beautiful job organizing refreshments. And today it looks especially wonderful, and Louise will tell you more about that.
I wear a number of hats in the garden club, and being second vice president, I'm in charge of the refreshments. However, I was in a panic when my associate decided she couldn't do it. And lo and behold, I got this little miracle came in, and Bernadette said, "Oh, I can do that." And oh my gosh, she's amazing. So thank you, Bernadette. And thanks to Jean Hewitt again for the beautiful tablecloths and also bringing pumpkin bread. And the people who brought food for our table today, Anna Frankfurt, Jean Hewitt, Barbara Post, Rosario Misa, Priscilla Tolentino, Aurora Francisco, Fong Lee, and Bernadette. Did I miss anybody? And Judy Quito. Thank you. And Sonia Lee and Clark and Lamerrill. So it was no wonder we have such a wealth of goodies. So everybody please partake if you haven't already. And thank you all for helping. And those of you who are on the committee, you know you afterwards we need some help for cleanup. I also want to point out that our plastic cups over here are good for hot and cold. And that's a thank you to Martha, our president, for ordering the plates and cups that we are now using instead of going through paper. So that's a real gift to the community of Gardening Club. My other hat is corsages that we make each year for the Shields Nursing Home. And we've set the date as Thursday, November 30th from 11:30 to 2. You don't have to stay the whole time. If you are not already part of that group and you wish to participate, we use cones and pods and natural things with ribbons and decorations, make corsages that get sent to the nursing home. I think last year we made 40 and they're so appreciated. So if you're interested in doing that, I have a sign-up sheet, and let me know if you'd like to join us. We have a good time, and we usually eat because shoot, that's what the garden club does. Again, on the refreshment agenda, our next meeting is not going to be early. We're going to be meeting at 11:30, so put that in your file. And we're having a potluck. So bring something festive to share with your garden club friends. We're going to have a speaker. And then we're also going to have some Christmas carols, and maybe the night before Christmas might be recited. I think that covers everything. I'll be back with the Sundar Shadi program. I'm really excited that 2 of our Sundar Shadi recipients are here. So I look forward to that. Thank you.
Thank you, Louise. Mallory or Norma, would you like to tell us what's on the plant table today?
Morning. We already had brisk sales, so you better get over to the plant table. We have these beautiful outdoor Virginia with pink flowers. Is that what they said? Yes. And there's also an orange daylily, not in bloom, but the person who brought it said it's orange, and several little spider plants that we all need spider plants. Great indoor or even outdoor plants. Don't forget the plant table, and if you did bring something and it doesn't sell, please take it home with you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. You guys always do such a good job of making the plant table look welcoming. Landry, speaking of plants, would you also talk about the flower arrangements and then the plants?
So, on that, let me start by saying what a beautiful set of arrangements are here today. Kate Steinell and Susie Keller were on the sign-up sheet for today's meeting, and they both brought lovely arrangements. Thank you very much. But look around. This is the abundant beauty of our club. As people who were not signed up also brought gorgeous arrangements. Thank you all. I just want to say, at the new member team, we filled out almost every slot on the flower arrangement schedule. I just have one opening left. And it's a time when it should be pretty easy to bring a flower arrangement. It's the June luncheon. So do I have a volunteer? Let me send this over for an assignment. Thank you. So it's wonderful to have a full complement of arrangements on the schedule. I appreciate you all very much. And now, I want to mention that our big event for fundraising, although we have many little events at every meeting, our big event for fundraising this year is going to be the plant sale in the spring. We're going to really focus on this spring sale, and I really am looking for people to be part of that committee, to plan it, to organize planting of various seeds and cuttings for the sale months ahead of time as it has to be done. And I want to encourage people to participate in the plant sale. And there are a couple of different ways you can participate. You can be part of the planning. That's fun. You can also, and there are going to be like 2 or 3 meetings, that's it, for the whole time. And then the other thing is the day of the sale. We're going to need volunteers. So if you're not interested in meetings or planning, please consider volunteering to be hosting the plant sale and helping to sell the plants. Those are the 2 ways that are best to participate. If you don't want to do either of those, plant seeds and cuttings and contribute to the plant sale. We're going to need all kinds of talent to make this really work well. Question? is April 14th.
Oh.
April 14th, yes, thank you.
Thank you, Landry. Are there other committee reports that would like to speak up? Right? Ranger Clark, would you like to make your announcement? This is about penny pines.
It's great that I can actually speak and you can hear me today. Who made the arrangements for improving
Robin and Pam and Howdy were
the,
part of that.
what a blessing. We all want to hear each other and know what is happening, and so today we can. It's a pleasure for me to come and share with you that last month, at our meeting, we collected $60 for penny pines, which is a really great addition to our effort. In the back of your book is an explanation of the penny pines program, one part of the program. And this particular program, part of the program, has to do with being able to buy a whole large group of seedlings in a tract and to help in the effort of planting trees in forests. Obviously, each month we get collections from our tables, and all of that goes towards some major efforts to address the needs of our birds, other creatures of the forest, the people who walk through the forest and enjoy them, and the carbon attraction of trees, enabling us in terms of participation in this effort to deal with climate change. Our trees are out there collecting carbon. The more of them that we have, the better. Anyway, thank you so much. I want you to know if you didn't get a container to put your name on, someone from the other table just pass it over. Casey will be around. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Clark. And I'll say that the Penny Pines program, as Clark said, there is a description in the back of our yearbook that tells a little bit about the history. But you know, it's a garden club generated program that helps the forests. And after donations from folks are sent to the Forest Service, a plaque is put in the forest somewhere. And I do have a photo that I think I've shared a couple of times in the newsletter of the Mendocino National Forest and a big board, big wooden board in the forest with all these little plaques on it. And one of them was somebody from the El Cerrito Garden Club, where a donation had been made in her memory. So it's just a nice way, you know, the hikers and campers see their name or see our name and know that we've made that effort to support the forest and the greenery of the planet. Right. How about study group reports? Can we hear anything from the herb group? And Anna, maybe you could do the succulent group at the same time. That would be awesome.
Okay, the herb group that meets monthly in our members' home is December 7th, which is a Thursday, and it will be at Louise's home. Louise is very busy. The herb this for December is going to be cinnamon. So the succulent group, I'm sure everybody last month enjoyed the pumpkins that we did. The only thing we have scheduled is December 4th, and so far there's only 2 of us participating, but we're gonna make the little glass containers, they're like mini terrariums that have succulents in them. So if you are interested in doing that, let me know. We'll be at my house. We're going to, and I'll tell you what you need to bring. But they're kind of fun. They're really nice little centerpieces for the holidays. That you can make. If I can find the red and green stamp. That's it.
Thank you. We really rely on the succulent group to give us darling little creations for these holidays. In October, of course, they're wonderful pumpkins, the pumpkin arrangements, and now these terrariums. Thank you very much. Other study groups, the edibles group is on a brief hiatus. It meets by Zoom normally, but won't meet again now, probably until February or March, time to plant things then. The native plant group also continues to meet by Zoom. And the next meeting is, I believe, Tuesday, November 28th at 7 p.m. If you're not already on the email list to get that Zoom invitation, be sure to contact Robin Mitchell and let her know that you are interested in the natives group. Those Zoom meetings have been so informative and so interesting and exciting. I really recommend that group. So, and as we know, native plants, very important, for pollinators and everything else. Sarah, can you tell us anything about how the high school garden is doing? You need to come up though if you want to. Any little report?
No, I don't have any report.
Okay, just that it's going fine. Okay, thank you. So the El Cerrito High School Garden is another project that we follow and sometimes have reports about. Are there any other announcements right now that people would like to make? Paula, come on up.
I just wanted to announce that the Orchid Society of California is back online. We're having in-person meetings and they're in the daytime on Sundays, third Sunday, I think it is. So November 19th, we're having a meeting. I am the speaker. I'm talking about Cattleya Lalias, Mexican Lalias, which are great to grow outdoors here. I'm bringing plants that I have for sale. There's a raffle table. And, oh, I'm sorry, this is called the opportunity table. So 1:30, Lake Merritt Garden Center. If the park has been parked out, it's very, very popular on the weekends. But there's a utility road that runs in front of the garden center. If you look very closely when you're coming up to the garden center, if you take a left up that road, there's parking up there. So this is a secret spot. Don't tell anybody. I hope to see somebody there.
Thank you, Paula. And again, November 19th?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sunday.
Sunday, the 19th. Any other announcements for now? Oh, please.
Joyce, would you like to prepare?
We've been keeping a secret. I don't know how secret it was, but this morning when I arrived at 8:30, Martha got out of the car and I said, "Morning," and she went, "Ooh." And I said, "Oh my gosh, what's wrong?" And she said, "Well, Pam, who's in charge of the audio visual, has COVID." I'm going to take Martha on a little tour. Please come with me. Tour stop number 1 is this gorgeous floral arrangement that Sharda made for your birthday from flowers from the garden. Okay. Go this way. So it doesn't happen very often that Martha's birthday is on a meeting, but I thought, what an opportunity. Extra food was brought for your celebration. And that here is the official birthday table. So it says, happy birthday, dear Martha, wishing you a harvest of happiness. And I really are going to cap you. Now we have a special performance by Joyce Hennessy, who's also a photographer. So turn your pages over on your table. That's what, yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
You all have your sheets. Okay. It wasn't easy keeping a secret from Martha because she likes to be involved. Have a wonderful day and a beautiful year.
Thank you. I'm very touched and stunned. That's so sweet. And I do want to mention that our beautiful Barbara Post has her birthday tomorrow. So, so happy birthday to you too. Well, if there are no more announcements or surprises, we're going to take a break. And we'll start our program maybe even a few minutes before 11, since our speakers are already here.
Maybe just 15-minute break.
Let's take a 15-minute break, since I know that most of us have already been eating. And let's meet again at 10:45 for our program. Thank you all so much. If there are any other announcements or things, we can do them after the speakers, but let's get our program started. And I will turn the program over to Louise.
Thank you. It is my great honor to have chaired the Sundar Shadi Front Yard Garden Awards for 4 years. And no, I'm not looking for a replacement. I love my job. This is, I decided I'd do something a little different as an introduction. I looked up some quotations about gardening. I like gardening. It's a place where I find myself when I need to lose myself. Never underestimate the healing power of a quiet moment in the garden. Gardening adds years to your life and life to your years. George Bernard Shaw said, the best place to find God is in your garden. You can dig for him there. And Claude Monet, that amazing painter, said, my garden is my most beautiful masterpiece. Audrey Hepburn said, to plant a garden is to believe in tomorrow. John Steinbeck, there is nothing pleasanter than spading in the ground. Gertrude Jekyll, who was an incredibly famous gardener, said, the love of gardening is a seed once sown that never dies. A garden is not a place, it is a journey. And I love Maya Angelou. On Saturday afternoons, when all things are done in the house, I play Bach and Chopin and turn it up real loudly and get a good bottle of Chardonnay and sit out on my deck and look out at my garden. And finally, the want sign. Gardener wanted. Must look good bending over. Okay, so you all know that this award is entitled the Sundar Shadi Front Yard Garden Award. It's presented every year by the El Cerrito Garden Club. But who was Sundar Shadi? I know most of you have heard this story before, but because of his kindness and generosity, I don't think it hurts to hear it again. Sundar was born in June 1900 in Shadi, a small village in the Punjab of India. He lived on a farm with his parents, 4 brothers, and 1 sister. During a violent Muslim uprising, the family fled to Pakistan. 1 brother was killed and another died in World War I. As a boy, Sundar was sent to Muslim sheikh schools. Because of the importance of agriculture to his community, he was encouraged to study pomology, the science of agriculture. With a great deal of help from his family, he immigrated to the US and attended UC Berkeley. Cerrito Garden at 7344 Pebble Beach Drive. His owner and the garden is Bridget Leary, and she's going to tell you about the history of the house and the garden.
I just want to say thank you to all the judges, and I feel so honored to receive this award. I grew up in El Cerrito and remember the Shadi house very vividly as a child, and I was just amazed that he had this award that is awarded to people every year. So that was a surprise when Joyce let me know that her garden won. The house that I live in is my childhood home, so I remember all the beginnings of the front yard and the backyard. We live on the top of the hill in El Cerrito, right off of Cutting, so there's very extreme weather. So I don't think my parents really had a green thumb. And what was already there when we moved in were these very old Japanese trees, bonsai trees that had gone wild, lots of kind of just overgrown rosemary, things that just kind of took over the garden. And they never really irrigated it or gave water throughout my childhood. So when I moved into the home just over 5 years ago, one of the first things that I wanted to do was kind of start with the front yard because there was so much potential there already. You had these really old Japanese structured trees that just needed some love, water, and some cutting and attention. And if they put it up, you can see the before shot, which kind of shows you what I was dealing with when we first moved in. But the second part was for me to feel like it was my own and not just part of the neighborhood, which was established as a Japanese garden neighborhood. And so one thing I really loved about the neighborhood and the area and what seems to do well are Japanese maples. So it was something I wanted to bring in, and I just love looking at them. I love the seasons with them. Whereas most of the garden is pretty evergreen, the maples really show the season. And so we planted a mix of dwarfed Japanese maples that just took to the area really well. The trunks, if you like look at them at the house, are just really roped in and rooted in the ground. So they're really loving where they are. And then to soften all of these like very bold features with the rocks that I already kind of just was born into, we softened it with a lot of azalea and wispy, not only just evergreen, but flowering plants. And there were many succulents kind of just randomly placed in the garden. And we didn't really want to take anything away too much as to just see what would happen with a little bit of love and water and care. And to this day, all of the succulents stayed in. We never took them out. And if you see them, they're just giant and thriving. And that was my biggest fear, was that the succulents wouldn't really look like the theme, but they really just all grew into the rocks and became its own. I'm trying to think of what else we did.
It's all about the city. That's so great.
Really?
There.
All right. Okay, you can start over. No. All right, let's see. Sorry, it worked the other day.
Oh, there we go. Oh, there's Sundar Shadi.
Yes. It's
Well, maybe. Oh, here we are. Okay.
all right, let me get it to that.
Martha, click on slideshow in the upper right.
All right. I'm sorry, I think the Wi-Fi is a little weak.
Okay.
So this should have been while Louise was talking about Mr. Shadi. Sorry.
Yeah,
And here we have Bridget's beautiful garden. All right.
Okay. This is the before photo. Kind of things, just needing a little attention, and ground covering was something that we're still working on. We're just taking cuttings and moving them slowly to the left as they take. And yeah, it's so it's like Halloween looking at it to me. But I think, as you can see, there was just, everything was structurally or designed there, and we didn't really do much but just soften and add. I think wind is a big factor that Joyce and I deal with up on the hill. And even though it seems like it's foggy and moist, the wind just totally dries out anything. So that was something I had to adjust over the years, just to know that even if it rains, or rain on Monday, or Sunday, it was still not enough for some of the plants. You still have
irrigation system?
We do have an irrigation system that we probably change every 3 months, just depending on everything. But yeah, it's been, I think the biggest, if you look from the other street, you can kind of see some focal pieces. Most of it is evergreen, but like I said, there are flowers, and then the maples kind of tell the story of the season, which we're dealing with right now. But yeah, anyone have any questions?
Yeah, I have quite a few slides.
Oh, you
Do
do?
you want me to
Okay.
just advance and you can
Oh,
talk?
sure. Yeah.
Tell me if you want me to go on.
Yeah, so you can see kind of the larger bonsai structures that, they have to be over 50 years old easily.
Do you do all the cooking yourself?
No, I do not. So I have an amazing help that I started with probably right after the pandemic, or just around where you could kind of interact with people. And he has a crew of 3 guys, and they come probably once every month to month and a half. Mainly with, just the bonsai. It's like the hardest part. I have 2 small children under 5 years old, so it's a little trickier for me, but I knew that this was a priority for me and what I wanted to do once they were going to be able to help me with the garden. I think we could all agree, like, coming home, the best part of your home arrival is like to see your garden or drive through it. And that's what I wanted immediately before we did anything else. So you could see all the succulents. A lot of the stuff we kept in and just, as you can see, softened. What did well, we like just scooted over to the left and saw that it worked well. So it wasn't like okay, we're gonna plant everything all at once. We did have to do a test run, and it started on the right because it seemed like the healthiest part of the garden with this tree over to the right. And so now the ground covering is slowly moving to the left side of the garage, which is a whole other part of the garden as well. But
What's the garage?
it's the silver, I'm blanking on the name, silver, yeah,
No, Diamante?
something like that. It gets like silvery. It doesn't blossom at all, but it's really thick and durable. But it does it's tricky to take. So you have to kind of interplant and sparsely do it to start. But for those of you who were able to come and who gave me the award, I was able to take them to the backyard as well, because I think that was like the biggest thing for us as a family who took over the home and wanting it to be our own, is how do you make the front look like the back? Because the back had nothing except for a dwarf lemon tree that was doing well, and some garden beds. And that's still an ongoing project, but for us, the biggest part was to link to the front. So we have larger maples that we've slowly brought in the back, with some rose bushes and roses, a rose garden that my grandmother started when I was young. And just some nice trumpet vine covering because the golf course, the Berkeley City or the Berkeley Country Club is on our backside, and we really wanted a privacy barrier there with plants, not a so. The cousin it plant, which I love. Yeah, so this is probably, these photos were probably taken in May.
May or June.
May or June, yeah, I think it was awarded in June, mid-June, so.
Was the terracing in when you?
It was, I remember my parents put the terracing in probably 25 years ago, and then it just, never got filled in. We did put some rock cover just to help with, water retention. Because it does get very dry up there. I don't know if anyone else has a house besides myself enjoys, but it does.
The judges noticed your spots of color. So would you tell us what the plants are, the spots of color?
Well, I'm having a blanking moment because some didn't really survive. We turned off the sprinklers thinking some things would go, but it's mostly blanking on this blue. Does anyone know the name?
Lobelia.
Yes, and that has kind of taken over mostly, and then the azaleas that are with the pink, I believe, that are more underneath to the left side of the tree. But yeah, that does really well.
No, that's.
We have many succulents, so if anyone wants cutting, please let me know. I always feel like I'm just giving them. Yeah, this year, specifically this year, every single one of those blossomed, which doesn't usually, it's probably like 1 every 10. Every single one was very happy with the water. There used to be like a waterfall that came from the top of the door all the way down to the base where this evergreen cone tree is planted now, but because of safety reasons, we took that out, the end of the waterfall there, and just left it up to the water feature at the top and planted that tree. So it's kind of close to the sidewalk. Yeah, there's a side garden bed that has mostly
We all
maple.
and awe over the S-shaped tree. What is that?
Yes, that was planted there. It's a bonsai tree, and it was by one of the Japanese gardeners of the neighborhood who has a history in that neighborhood. Joyce, are you familiar? And the family or his parents actually planted many houses up. And the son did it maybe 20 years ago for my parents, and I can't remember what it is, and it's probably our biggest attraction for people who walk, because it's an S snake, and it only blooms in late March. This year was a little later. It was because of the weird weather, and it's just these most beautiful, delicate white flowers, and as soon as they bloom, the wind takes them away. It's literally like 1 to 2 days in flowers. And it's so incredible. If I could find it on my phone, I'll show you.
Or something.
Yeah, I remember when he was training it as a child, it was like a base stick and just like rope, and it was just so crazy to think all of that.
Oh.
Yeah.
This is the end.
Yeah.
It's wonderful to relive that garden, and you can see why Joyce nominated it and why the judges loved it so much. I think one of the things in reviewing these slides again, thank you, Martha, is to see the incredible variety of plants that blend together and suit the theme so well. Thank you so much, Bridget, for that presentation. It was excellent. Our next garden was at 2616 Yuba. Oh, that's our gathering. Oh, I know one thing I wanted to mention. I wanted to thank all the people who came to the front yard presentation of the Sundar Shadi Awards. We had a great day. Every place that we stopped was so cordial. So that's part of our group in front of Bridget's house. Presenting the sign, because each winner receives a sign that goes in their garden, and it's almost time for me to pick them up and start over. So our next house is 2616 Yuba, and Marianne Bell is the owner of the garden. The home was built in 1926, and the garden started in 2021. One of the judge's remarks were, "This garden offers eye-catching curb appeal with its rock border wall and meandering path through a colorful variety of plants, which include succulents, cacti, seasonal flowers, and handsome trees. This drought-tolerant garden displays a nice variety of textures and heights and blends well with the design of the home." The garden was nominated by member Bonnie Bishop, and I'd like to introduce the gardener owner, Marianne Bell. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. And I'm very honored for this award. It was, like Bridget, quite a surprise. I told my family and they laughed, and then we got competitive. So, this is how I bought the house. Obviously it was prior to the years of drought, and that really took a toll on that front lawn, but the lawn, sweeping lawn with a house on a hill is always quite a nice and lovely vignette, especially when you're selling a house. It worked for me. And you can see there's some daylilies, and there was some, I want to say iris, some other things in the house. You can see the borders are quite squared off, and the retaining wall was some pressure treated wood that started to rot. So that was about 10, 11 years ago. So the first step was I had to get a gardening book. So where do you get a gardening book? Well, probably the pandemic helped. The second thing is I was looking at the lawn, which was quite dead, and then it grew back. I started watering it again, and it grew back with a lovely assortment of green weeds, adding texture, and perhaps some height, depending on how often I actually mowed the lawn / weeds. But it was becoming more and more problematic because the slope was quite significant. And the weeds, even though I was trying to mow them to blend into the grass, were winning, actually. So I let the lawn and weeds die back. And around that time, my girlfriend, who is quite an avid gardener, started to show me how to scrape the weeds out. So we got a pickaxe, and it does take a village to do this, as you probably know. I happen to have young teenage boys, which are very, very helpful. They can be hired, but they basically helped me scrape because it's backbreaking work, as you know. And we removed all of the sod, and were able to cart that away. Sarah was able to connect me with a really gifted stonemason, a man who's really great at hardscape. I think that's probably the major shift when you look at a lawn, which is quite flat and the slope is quite, regulated, to make it feel more organic rather than man-made. So we started by adding a retaining wall, and all of these are his ideas. They're quite lovely. So he suggested moss rock, because he took a look at the neighborhood. And I think this is, it looks blue, it's actually black river rock, I think is the official title, and all of these you can get at American Soil and Stone. His expertise was pretty instrumental, because then he started tiering the levels. So you can see, he threw some sizable boulders. I never would have thought to do that, but it, like Bridget's yard, really creates these lovely environments that can start to suggest clustering plants together. The other thing that he did that was super helpful is I had some tiles that were basically sort of a cement from Home Depot. So he picked those up and replaced them with this, I guess it's a slate walkway and some crushed granite to hold those in place. So you can see some of the early plantings, some salvia on the right. There's a maple that was existing. You can see some of the, I guess those are lilies. You should know I'm a fairly new gardener, so you'll ask me what that plant is, and there's a 50% chance that I'll know, because I ran around this morning looking at the plants and looking at what they are. So I might know, I might not. The way that I look at plants, I have a background in graphic design, so I've never really designed in 3 dimensions. That was all foreign. I would look at the thing and it would say whether how tall it would grow or how wide, and I tried to, like, I was trying to measure it first. In the backyard, I started like putting plants in. You might be familiar with this with new gardeners, you know, equidistant, but they were probably 3 feet away from each other. So I mean, there was no harmony and there was no relationships. And so my girlfriend suggested that I start to, she showed me the tag that said 18 inches, so grow 18 inches wide, and to take half that distance and then start to plant and cluster the plants that way. So now I probably default to 18 inches, which is why some things get a little compacted, but I've learned to plant them close together. Try, this is all a mystery. I have no idea what's on here. Yeah, so I think those are the stratas that are these 2 here. And I got a third one. So one of the key insights that I got was to look at some anchor plants and to put those in, and to get some advice. Sarah had referred me to the Piedmont East Hardware store, has a nursery, and they actually have very inexpensive plants, relatively speaking, for the Bay Area. And the manager at the time, Tom, would come consult and recommend some plants based on whatever the soil conditions, the amount of sun, water, things like that. So I started there, and he gave me a couple of ideas, and some I'd already acquired. So the stratas were one, and then I wonder what's going to happen next. Can you show me what the next slide is? Okay. Awesome. So my backyard is full of these, and I have probably 20 little babies. If anyone ever wants one of those, they just grow up like crazy. Maybe they do for you too. They make you feel like a genius gardener. So the way that I started constructing this is I would be drawn to things that were whimsical or funny or interesting. So the big yellow moon is a ground cover in the front left. And they're just fun little orbs of yellow, and they just kind of float above this sort of cloud of kind of blue-green foliage. Super fun. Mystic spires are, I think, probably my favorite plant. It's a salvia, and they're just so beautiful, and the color is so intense. So every time I would put a color plant in, I'm using color theory. I mean, not like in a scientific way, but just naturally. And I go for either an orange or yellow to contrast with those purple and blues. So every time I put one there, I'm putting a contrasting color plant to get that pop. I was driving in Berkeley, and I found this really cool garden in one of the hills. It's on a frequent path where my boy's best friend lives, and so I go by it over and over again. And they did a really interesting job. I was observing how they used a burgundy leaf, a really dark, plummy burgundy against light green. So I started looking for those color contrasts, both textures and color is sort of probably an organizing principle without really having principles here, but that's sort of what the default is. Should we see what's next?
I just want to point out this guy,
Oh yeah.
which is the plant that I featured last month for the club, that funny little barbed wire plant.
Yeah, it's got, did you look at what that is? Is that like a concussion or something? Cushion thing?
Yeah, it's got a bunch of names.
Yeah,
But
we'll go with that. I swear, I looked that one up because Martha commented on it back in like June, and I, you know, I don't remember what the name of the plant is, so.
it's wonderful.
Yeah, thank you. Pardon? Oh, thank you. Yeah, some more expires, the big yellow moon. There's Arctatus behind that, I have planted that on the health strip, which is the strip between the sidewalk and the road with, I think it's Large Marge, which is the best name ever. And they're big yellow blooms, and they're super rugged and tough. I planted a lot of things in that space. I'm very optimistic, I guess, and I plant them, they go there to die, I plant them. And I have challenges with neighbors. So some of the, walking over that, some of it's just keeping the water regular. My girlfriend kindly says that my watering habits are really well suited to succulents, by which she means chronically underwater. It's pretty bad, but unfortunately you won't see that here because we've had so much rain, which is genius, so amazing. Oh, so that's the Large March. The pincushion one I moved, there were three originally. So I moved one because it got to be like 2.5, 3 feet, very large. The ultraviolet is another Arctatus that did not last, those died back. So yeah, you can see their retaining wall and some of the other cool things. Yeah, I don't know, do you have questions or? Okay. Yeah, so this is kind of the square front yard, and you can see, I have a love affair with purples and blues. I think for some reason it just feels so cool in the garden, and the contrast is really quite lovely. There's some yellow barrel cactus in the front. I don't know if the two on either side, but they're low water. I think that's a Gaillardia. You guys are probably more familiar with me, so, and I'm going to mangle the names. You can feel free to correct. Sorry?
Yeah, Gaillardia.
Okay. That's a dwarf Buddleia. So it won't get to be the massive 8x8. And I did buy that as a 4-inch pot at Annie's. Most of this was Annie's, but a lot of the succulents and cactus, I go to Cactus Jungle, go over to the bank operations, many wonderful places in the area. Annie's Hardware, it's really great place too. You can't really see in the back, but there are some kind of long, stocky ones, and those are Furcrae McDougallii. They're gigantic and really wild. That was one of the ones that Tom recommended. You can see here, this is a Rostrata that is very mature. It's got a tree trunk. So that's pretty cool and fun to have there. The big foamy, I think it's like a licorice plant that completely gets out of control. So probably want to cut that back, but it's a great contrast to that burgundy leucadendron. Instead of sort of confidently. Any other slides? So the Gravalia superb on the right, super happy, loves where it is, probably because it's at the corner and it has great drainage. I think it's a bellflower that's a ground cover. This protea died quick death. In fact, 2 out of 3 died. So I'm really scoring very well there. This is how we learn. There's some Puya, probably mispronouncing it, but these are 2, one here and one there. I noticed another one in El Cerrito that looked spectacular, but they have these really amazing stalks of turquoise, and Annie basically says it's unreal. This looks like Photoshop, so I'm like, count me in. I'm gonna try that. So I think it blooms every 2 years. I haven't seen any blooms yet, but it seems to be getting bigger. So yeah, it's a combination. On the left here, more cactus and succulent, very dry. The right is sort of a combination, and it's sort of whatever I'm drawn to. I've since moved the one behind the mailbox. It was magenta succulent, very, very bright. So I moved it to the hill strip on the other side of the driveway, and it actually is doing quite well there.
This must have been enough folder.
Yeah, right, before dying, dead and now replaced, yeah. Cool. Any questions here? Wow. Yeah. I mean, just so grateful because we had so much rain and you can just see that the garden was just loving it and, yeah, I guess to see purple is really spectacular, isn't it? Yeah. That's my girlfriend Sarah. She taught me everything I know. She had a lot of grunt work actually. So there are sprinklers in here, but I made a newbie error. So I'm like, okay, well, you know, back where we were doing a lot of the dirt, really, you know, I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna put the grass sprinklers. I'm gonna change it. I'm gonna get an expert in here, and they're gonna redo the sprinklers, and all I have to do is turn on a switch. And what ended up happening, because we didn't know where the plants would go, now that they pop up and will like go hit right at the side of the plant. You know, of limited use, we'll say. And the other challenge that I wasn't aware of when I put the sprinklers in is each of the planting areas require different water requirements. So I'm watering for the lowest common denominator so that those don't get killed. And so then I have to supplement myself with going out. And this is a spiritual practice of watering. You know, we really learn how to be in the moment and not rush. And it's, I'm not very patient. So it's a daily practice. And with some success, I think, yeah, next slide or, okay, so that's the dry area with the yellow barrel cactus. The two other succulents also don't really want to get their feet wet at all during the summer. And then these little finger ones I got at the place in the city for Florida, who has also some very interesting and weird and cool. Yeah. So more taught us behind the grass-like things are actually blooming, and they're supposed to have a long purple spike that might have never bloomed, and I'm sure there's something I should be doing, but what they are planted to do is they'll zigzag up through the layers. So they do have a design role where they're kind of pulling our eye up through, which I think is helpful, but that's where they haven't produced any flowers. And that was sort of a watermelon ground cover. I think some of the ones here, like this is dying back, and I think it's either wants more water, it's too much sun for that particular succulent. It's usually it wants more water because it's just not them. And then you can see the yeah, it's pretty cool. The strawberries and yeah. Oh, right, I wrote those down. Matilda Poppy, Matilda. Yeah.
California.
Yeah. There's also not in bloom at the time over here. Another California native, which is looking up momentarily. Ibulon palmeri. So it's a sun-loving Ibulon, which is pretty unusual. That was recommended to me as well. Reliable bloomer, yellow blooms, light gray silver leaf, really, really beautiful. And strangely, the deers don't like that, but they have pretty much decimated the Ibulon on the fence. It's gone. Yeah. And the eye and full landscape.
I don't have a picture of the actual handing of the sign, I'm sorry.
The sign
Yeah,
there.
I think that's it. Yeah.
You can see why that garden was nominated. I mean, every time you changed your position, you saw something else that was beautiful and wonderful. And to see the beginnings where there's a lawn and nothing into this incredibly lush environment. Thank you so much, Marianne, for creating the beauty in our community. Our third Sundar Shadi winner was Carolyn Fender, who is a daughter of members Charles and Clavel Fender. And I believe they were once neighbors in Mary Massachusetts. Carol has been dealing with her quite elderly father, who is, I guess, Charles Fender. And he's 103 and quite 105, and he's quite ill. And so she's unable to be here this morning. So it's my job to do best I can to describe this really unusual garden. I think, as I said before, the three gardens are in very different parts of El Cerrito. The Pebble Beach at the top of the rise above Cutting, and the Yuba Garden is off of Barrett. So it's a long ways. And then the Elm Street Garden is more in the flatlands, and a smaller condensed garden, but very unique. The garden at 1520 Elm Street was nominated by Mallory Johnson, who was our plant table lady and also a former Sundar Shadi winner. So we're hoping she's become a very active member of the garden club. So we're hoping that our current recipients become active members of the garden club. Just a suggestion. This is a bungalow style home. Was built in 1912. The home was purchased and the garden started in 1999. So this is what the house and garden looked like at the time of the purchase. They started to implement putting in stone walkways and a fence. And Mike Treppier, Carol's husband, she and her husband developed and designed the garden themselves. They are both avid hikers. And so they decided they wanted the landscape to look natural. This is the before. This is the entrance. And you can see some of the stonework that Mike created here in the front. There are mature trees that sort of anchor the property. And the interesting thing about this is that the front yard garden is really quite narrow. And so they've used a lot of the front strip next to the street to enlarge their garden. And so when you view this garden, you literally walk through it when you're on the sidewalk. So people can enjoy the right and the left side of this garden. It is a very drought tolerant garden. They put in primarily succulents and cacti and natives, and then mulching, which allows for a small amount of water. So this is the path that you would walk through if you're browsing through the neighborhood. It's really eye-catching and very unique. It stood out within the neighborhood of someone who really cared for gardening. This is the side yard, and this is when the driveway was in progress. They have roses growing, and before, this is before Mike put in a beautiful walkway. This is what it looks like now. They installed the beautiful smoke trees and a lot of really interesting grasses that give very interesting height and then brilliant green color. Softens the fence which is basically a barrier between homes, becomes a backdrop for the colors of the landscaping. And there's Mike's beautiful stonework on that bare and ugly driveway. It's now a lovely walkway. This is, I think it's a yucca. I believe it is. A really mature tree, a yucca that has turned into a tree, and so it's a really an anchor to the garden. And other things growing around it have all different kinds of heights. This is one of the little islands. I think that the garden is kind of made up of islands because it's broken by the driveway and the entrance to the lower part of the house, and then the entrance to the main part of the house. And they've done a really wonderful job of making each of the separate islands unique plantings. So as judges, our eyes were immediately drawn to this beautiful cone-shaped structure, and it is a replica of Native American oven that Charles built in the front of the house, and it's really a unique feature, and everything else kind of is blending around it. You can see a lot of the succulents there, and then the grasses. So the combination of putting in the grasses makes it appear like a very natural landscape. There are kangaroo paw featured throughout the garden and all other New Zealand natives. One of the judges said that the overall garden had a look of lush green, tickled by accents of yellow. The other tree, I'm not sure if that's the ginkgo. I don't think so. Another of the, another of the strip next to the front yard. And again, there are 3 islands, basically, of planting next to the street. And each one has its own unique design and use of different heights. There's also a trailing yerba buena, which if you step on it has a lovely fragrance, and I believe that's a manzanita that's blooming there. Is this the ginkgo? And this is the ginkgo tree with that really almost neon green leaf. And the New Zealand, what do you call those? The tall things, the New Zealand flax. Thank you. New Zealand flax. So again, there's 3 or 4 different levels in this strip, and a really lush and inviting look. That's more of the variety of plants underneath the ginkgo. And then Mike included the design of his stonework in the front strip as well, with the addition of rocks. And then on that day, Carol invited us into her backyard garden, which was really amazing. It had a water feature and edibles and fruit trees and Mayan themed artwork. So the front and back was beautiful, but we don't judge the back. That's an extra bonus. So this is Carol on the right, standing in her garden on the day of the presentation. And there's all of our wonderful members who showed up at the presentation. And also you can see in this picture the old-fashioned hand railing going up to the house that really looks lovely, and is the way the plants grow in their little islands. It's inviting to walk up the steps to the front door. So that concludes our program of Sundar Shadi. I'd like to remind you to look for beautiful front yard gardens in El Cerrito. We'll be taking nominations come March. It's never too early to have a browse. And remember to enjoy your own front yard gardens and look as you go along. Our world is filled with beautiful places. At this time, when things are so brutal out there, our gardens mean all the more to us. And thank you so much to Mary Ann Bell and Bridget Leary for coming. Thank you.
Wow, wonderful. Yes, it was so nice to have two of the homeowners here to talk about their experiences and their process of creating their beautiful gardens. And thank you so much to Louise, who is a wonderful Sundar Shadi proponent and chairperson, and a very fun, active committee. I recommend you all volunteer to be nominators and judges. So, are there any other announcements or comments that people would like to make? If not, remember the plant table and the bring and buy table. If there was anything there you wanted to pick up and take home with you, or if you brought it and it's still there, please take it. And remember that our December meeting is going to be a festive potluck, but also with a program, a speaker who will be talking about edible and medicinal plants of the East Bay. He's a docent at the Tilden Botanical Garden and an expert on indigenous uses of native plants. So it should be very fun. And thank you for my birthday surprise. It was lovely. And thank you very much.